Welcome back to WHIO Reports. Today on the program, we're talking about state issue number 1. You'll see it on the ballot when we go to vote on May 4th. Our guests in the program all work in research at local universities where a lot of this program funding goes. They're Mickey McCabe, the Vice President of Research at the University of Dayton, Dr. S. Narayan from the Wright State University Research Institute, and now joining us, Ryan Fendley, the Director of Operations and Strategic Initiatives at the Wright State Research Institute. Thanks for joining us. Give us a little bit of background about your work here locally at Wright State.
Sure. As the Director of Operations of the Research Institute, I try and help identify the opportunities for the Institute to pursue, and one of the key components of that is in trying to secure the third frontier funding.
Okay, so we want to make sure that this, from your point of view, you want to make sure that this funding continues. And what literally is on the ballot is a renewal of the current operation, the current funding for the state-run program. Let's look at it from in a larger view here over the entire Miami Valley. What is the impact of this program? Mickey, I'll start with you and we'll go this way. Through the Miami Valley.
Well, I mean, Jim, it's if you look at the impact on the Miami Valley, since the inception of the program, we've received over $123 million in funding from the Third Frontier program. That in turn, according to the statistics that we see out of Columbus, has created over 1,700 jobs in the area. Now, if you use the multiplier that everyone uses, which is about 5.5 or 6, that means when you look at direct and indirect jobs, in other words, when you hire somebody, then theoretically you need another person in the grocery store or somebody to transport the products. You're looking at over 8,000 jobs in the Dayton region alone, and the impact is incredible. The most recent story that we've seen that just is a shining example is the fact that GE Aviation has chosen Dayton to locate their new Electrical Integrated Systems Research Center, a $51 million project right here in the Dayton area. That would not have happened without a $7 million match from the state of Ohio and Third Frontier.
And this is the kind of thing that is not on the front page of the paper every day. So people are perhaps not thinking Third Frontier. As you go, and I'll start with you, Ryan, as you go and talk to people about this, how do you approach them and say, there's this thing on the ballot, it's State Issue 1, and it's Third Frontier, and it's very complicated if I explain it to you, but essentially this is a job creation program.
Sure. I think the easiest way to try and explain it to an individual who may not be familiar with it is to start by saying, in order for a region to achieve economic prosperity, two things really need to be in place. The first thing that you need is a talented workforce. The second thing that you need the infrastructure to be able to support that, to drive technologies forward so that supply meets demand and you're able to get those products into the marketplace. And our region has an incredibly talented workforce. Mm-hmm. The infusion of funds from the state has been critical because it's helped us align our infrastructure towards new opportunities rather than focusing or continuing to invest in the old business opportunities or models or industries. We're now able to shift that alignment and bring that forward. And it's that infusion of cash from the state that's been critical.
But the drive from the initial research to the market, that's a long haul for a lot of things. Third Frontier, I would think, is crucial to that long haul because you have to be able to sustain that over so many years sometimes.
Absolutely. For example, Wright State has converted about $24 million of funding from the Third Frontier into over 300 jobs in the Miami Valley. Many of the projects that we are working on have been matched with a lot of industry support. We've been able to also use those funds to hire some absolutely top-notch talent into the region. Dr. Amit Sheth, who moved to Dayton from Georgia, is an eminent scholar in the data analytics area. Working with UDRI and the IDCAST program, we've been able to hire Dr. Elliot Brown from California, who is another eminent scholar. And it's very important because it's very important to understand that there's a global battle for talent. Without investment, you're not going to be able to draw the right resource, right people, right infrastructure. And it's absolutely critical. I mean, if you look at Singapore, for example, it's investing big time in infrastructure and spending a lot of money in attracting talent from all around the world. And so, prosperity doesn't occur by accident. You've got to plan for it. And through Third Frontier, it helps connect the university research with the businesses to create new businesses and do some forward thinking in terms of where we need to be and position ourselves so that we can truly be there.
Mickey, I know that we've talked about this in the past, that perhaps in another lifetime, maybe 50, 60 years ago, there was such a thing as ivory tower research, pure research in the most pure sense of the word. Not anymore, especially not in this program.
Well, especially not in this program. Now, I'm not going to discount the very important nature of basic research. Without discovery, you don't have things to move forward. But the Third Frontier program is really focused on how do we take what we know today and create jobs, create companies and products. And I can't say enough about the connection that the Third Frontier program forces between academia and industry. That connection's vital, and it's the industrial input to the project that drives it along. When you take a researcher and sit down and he looks at a person from a company that says, you know what, with this technology, I think we can make this new product, that sticks in the researcher's mind and it cuts the time to development. It's like Stephen Covey says in his book, begin with the end in mind. And you'd be surprised how much that focuses the research project and how that contributes to a more favorable outcome and a new product and a new job at the end of the process.
But I would think that a lot of voters are not really thinking of their local university, which they drive by and maybe have a son or a daughter or a nephew or niece, or maybe themselves as a graduate, some tie with. They wouldn't necessarily think of that local university as being an economic engine. I'll use that phrase.
You know, Jim, I'm here to tell you, and the Wright State gentleman will agree, universities are not just about education anymore. They are contributing to the community in so many different ways, and one of them is helping to build an economy. We are working hard at it every day at Wright State, at UD, at Central State, at Miami University, even at Sinclair Community College. There are things happening that are creating jobs for the Dayton city and for the Dayton region.
Yeah, and let's look a little bit further down the road. Should this be approved, what do you think would be the future of this program? May 4th, the voters will go to the ballot, and perhaps, if things turn out the way you'd like to see them, they'll approve issue 1, and Third Frontier goes forward. You have another round of funding that goes on for a number of years. Where do you think this program is going to go? Do you have a vision for the future about how this is going to continue?
Well, it's important to make sure that there is momentum. You know, I mean, we've started something really good, and it's working. But everything takes time. It doesn't just happen very, very quickly, right? And so it's important to sustain it because otherwise you lose all the opportunities that you've created, the momentum that you've created. So it's absolutely critical that we look into the future and say, well, is this working? Is it really leading to more jobs in the high-tech area, which is the future? And so if you really care about the future, it's important to provide support to programs such as these in order to help create a better future for our region and the state.
And Ryan, do you see this as an investment, if nothing else? This is an investment in our future.
Oh, absolutely. I think that one of the key issues to remember is simply that the impact of this investment will be felt well beyond the next round of funding, well beyond 20 years from now, 25 years from now. We're laying the foundation for the large step forward or the long term, and it's critical that we continue the momentum that we've gotten so far.
Jim, here's a perspective on it. Last year, the Third Frontier program, by an independent analysis, created 14,000 jobs in Ohio in the middle of a pretty bad recession. So when you talk about what's the future hold, just think about what a program like this can do when the economy is on the build. I mean, the future is incredible. We've started over, at UD, we've started over 7 or 8 different companies using Third Frontier funds. Wright State has created 300 jobs. We've created over 400 jobs with $70 million in funding. The future is bright for Ohio, and these are the kinds of things we need to do to replace losses that we've sustained through NCR, GM, and other people leaving the community. This is our future.
I want to talk more about those job losses here and where this plays a part in all that when we come back from our break here. Got to take a break here. Stay with us. We'll be right back with more on WHIO Reports. Back in a bit.